Let's get right into it. Number 7, the light wand. Imagine you're at a slot machine in Vegas back in the 1980s. You've been losing all night, and then you see someone next to you winning jackpot after jackpot. You're not just witnessing a lucky streak. You're witnessing one of the biggest scams in casino history, the light wand. This wasn't some fancy high-tech gadget. It was basically a small flashlight with a bent tip, something you could build in your garage. But this simple device caused casinos to lose millions of dollars. Back then, slot machines used optical sensors to count the coins being paid out. The light wand was designed to shine a bright, precise beam of light directly into these sensors. This would completely blind the machine, tricking it into thinking it hadn't paid out anything at all. It would just keep spitting out coins until the entire hopper was empty, handing over a jackpot it never actually hit. The crazy part is, this thing cost about $10 to make, but it could trick a machine into paying out thousands. There are stories of scammers walking out of casinos with $50,000 in a single night from multiple machines. At first, the casinos had no idea what was happening. They just saw their slot machine profits dropping like a rock. Imagine being a casino owner, watching your machines hemorrhage money, and having no idea why. When they finally caught on, it sparked a whole arms race. The casinos started adding new shielding and security features to their machines. The scammers would find new ways around them. This cat-and-mouse game went on for years. The light wand wasn't just banned. Possessing one to use on a slot machine became a serious federal crime. We're talking serious prison time. Today's slot machines are completely different because of this device. They're built like fortresses, using encrypted computer systems, digital tracking, and physical barriers instead of simple optical sensors, all because of a $10 flashlight with a bent tip. Number 6, the card counter's computer. Imagine it's 1977, and you're walking into a Las Vegas casino. To everyone else, you look like any other tourist, but hidden inside one of your shoes is a tiny computer, about the size of a pack of cigarettes. This computer is connected to switches under your toes, letting you secretly input card values as they're dealt in a game of blackjack, and tucked into your ear is a tiny radio receiver, perfectly disguised as a hearing aid. When the deck is hot, it will buzz, telling you when to bet big. This wasn't a James Bond movie, it was a real device, and it was the brainchild of two MIT math professors, Claude Shannon and Edward Thorpe. They weren't content with just teaching math, they wanted to use it to beat the house at its own game. Their device was effectively the world's first wearable computer, built for one purpose: to count cards faster and more accurately than any human ever could. And it worked perfectly. As the dealer laid out the cards, the operator would tap their toes to input the values. The hidden computer would track the count and tell the player, through the hidden earpiece, exactly when the odds had shifted in their favor. It was completely undetectable. The team took their device to Vegas and started winning. They proved that with the right technology, the casino's edge could be completely eliminated. This was too effective for Vegas to ignore. The technology was eventually banned by the Nevada Gaming Commission in 1985. They didn't just ban that specific device. They passed a rule making it illegal to use any electronic device to aid in a casino game. The inventors never got in trouble, because when they were using it, it wasn't actually illegal. The law had to catch up with their invention. Today, using a device like this is a felony that will land you in jail, but the original prototypes are now sitting in computer history museums, recognized as the ancestors of the smartwatch on your wrist. So next time you check your Apple Watch, just remember its great-grandpa was built to rob casinos blind. Number 5, the V-style ski jump. Imagine you're watching ski jumping in the 1980s. Everyone does the same thing. They fly through the air with their skis perfectly parallel, just like they have for decades. That's just how you ski jump. But then, a Swedish jumper named Jan Boklov shows up. He comes down the ramp and launches into the air, but instead of keeping his skis parallel, he spreads them out in a V-shape. At first, everyone laughs. It looks clumsy and wrong, like he's about to do the splits in midair. Then they see how far he's flying. This wrong technique was giving him way more lift than anyone thought possible. He was soaring 10% to 15% further than the best parallel ski jumpers. It was like he discovered a principle of aerodynamics that an entire sport had missed for a century. The skiing officials hated it. They thought it looked ugly and unprofessional, so they started deducting style points from anyone who used the V-style. They effectively tried to punish the technique out of existence. But even with the point deductions, jumpers using the V-style were still winning. Physics doesn't care about style points. The V-shape creates a pocket of low-pressure air, acting like an airplane wing and generating lift. Suddenly, ski jumpers weren't just jumping, they were genuinely flying. The technique was so effective that it created a new problem. Jumpers started going so far that they were overshooting the safe landing zones of the ski hills. The sport's governing body had to scramble to change the rules. They redesigned the hills and shortened the in-runs because their own athletes were becoming too good. Eventually, the officials gave up. The style point deductions were removed. Today, every single professional ski jumper uses the V-style. The technique that was once ridiculed and penalized is now the only way to compete. Number 4. The code that made Hollywood lose its mind. Imagine it's 1999. You're a 15-year-old Norwegian kid named John Johansson. You just want to watch movies on your Linux computer, but there's no official DVD player software for it. So, you and a couple of friends do what any resourceful teenagers would do. You reverse engineer the copy protection on DVDs and create a tiny piece of code that can bypass it. That code was called DCSS, and it was a skeleton key for every DVD in existence. It unlocked the content scramble system Encryption, letting anyone make perfect, bit-for-bit digital copies of their movies. When Hollywood executives found out, they started having panic attacks in their corner offices. Their entire business model was built on selling physical discs, and a teenager had just created a tool that could duplicate them for free. The movie industry, through the MPAA, didn't just sue John Johansson. They went on a legal rampage, trying to make it illegal to even talk about how the code worked under the new Digital Millennium Copyright Act. They sued websites that hosted the code. They even went after people for linking to other websites that hosted the code. This response was so extreme that the tech community fought back. They saw it as a free speech issue. The code was so simple, just a few hundred lines, that people started sharing it in the most creative ways possible to prove a point. They printed it on t-shirts. They wrote it into song lyrics. They turned it into poetry. One person even encoded it into a prime number, calling it an illegal prime number. Ultimately, the movie industry won many of their lawsuits, and distributing DCSS was officially ruled illegal in the US, but it was too late. The code was everywhere. Trying to ban it was like trying to ban a number. Thanks to that Norwegian teenager, the idea that you could lock up digital information forever was dead. Hollywood spent millions on lawyers, and the code is still trivial to find online today. It was an invention so simple and effective that no amount of lawsuits could ever make it disappear. Number 3. The police radar jammer. It's the 1980s. You're cruising down the highway, music blasting, and you spot a police car with a radar gun pointed your way. But you're not worried, because you have a little black box on your dashboard that's about to ruin that cop's whole day. This was the radar jammer, and it was the reverse card for speed traps. Police radar guns work by bouncing a specific radio frequency off your car and measuring the change in the wave to calculate your speed. Radar jammers worked by doing something ingeniously simple. They detected that incoming radar signal and fired back their own blast of radio noise on the exact same frequency. This electronic noise would completely overwhelm the police radar gun. It was like trying to hear someone whisper next to a jet engine. The gun couldn't get a clean reading. The result was that the speed trap would either show you going 0 miles per hour, or it would display a stream of nonsensical, rapidly changing numbers. Imagine a cop trying to explain to a judge why a station wagon was apparently traveling at 900 miles per hour. Any reading from a jammed gun was useless as evidence in court. For a while, these devices worked so well that law enforcement agencies saw their ticket revenue plummet in certain areas. Drivers could speed with near impunity. The best part? The companies making these jammers weren't some shady underground operations. They were legitimate businesses with customer service departments and warranties. They'd sell you a device specifically designed to break the law with a money-back guarantee. The government finally had enough. In 1996, the FCC stepped in and, citing the Communications Act, declared all radar jammers illegal nationwide. It became illegal to manufacture, sell, or even own one. Getting caught with a radar jammer today can land you a fine of thousands of dollars. They were simply too effective at neutralizing one of law enforcement's primary tools. Number 2. The athlete's blood boost. Imagine being an elite athlete and being able to flip a switch that gives you superhuman endurance. Back in the 1970s and 80s, dishonest athletes and coaches figured out how to do exactly that. It's called blood doping, and it was so effective, it's the closest thing to turning on God mode in real life. The method was deceptively simple. Months before a major competition, an athlete would have a pint or two of their own blood drawn and stored. In the following weeks, their body, being the amazing machine it is, would naturally regenerate those lost red blood cells, bringing them back to their normal peak levels. Then, just a day or two before the big race, they would reinfuse their own stored blood back into their body. Suddenly, their system would be flooded with an unnaturally high concentration of red blood cells. More red blood cells means more oxygen can be carried from the lungs to the muscles. It was like upgrading your body's delivery fleet from pickup trucks into an army of semi-trucks, all carrying oxygen. The effect was an instant massive performance boost, sometimes as high as 10–15%. In endurance sports like cycling or marathon running, that's an eternity. It could turn a top 10 finisher into a gold medalist. The 1984 Los Angeles Olympics were nicknamed the Blood Olympics because the practice was so widespread and, at the time, undetectable. The practice was officially banned by the International Olympic Committee in 1985, but it wasn't just banned for being unfair. It was banned for being lethally effective. Some athletes got greedy, doping with too much blood. Their blood would become so thick and viscous, it was like trying to pump syrup through their veins. At least a dozen European cyclists died in the 1980s, many in their sleep, because their hearts literally stalled out trying to pump their own sludge-like blood. Number 1. The encryption that was too good. Imagine creating a piece of software so powerful that the United States government classifies it as a munition, putting it in the same legal category as a missile or a tank. That's exactly what happened to a software developer named Phil Zimmermann in 1991. Zimmermann created an encryption program he called PGP, which stands for Pretty Good Privacy. But pretty good was a massive understatement. It was, for all practical purposes, unbreakable by any government or intelligence agency on Earth. It used a form of public key cryptography that was so strong, the government realized that if it became widely used, their ability to conduct electronic surveillance would be severely crippled. They couldn't just spy on conversations encrypted with PGP, so they did the only thing they could think of. They banned its export. The government declared Zimmermann's computer code a munition under arms trafficking regulations. It was illegal to send the software outside the US without a license from the State Department, a license they had no intention of granting. The feds then launched a 3-year criminal investigation into Zimmermann, threatening him with prison time for arms exporting because his software had found its way onto the early internet and been downloaded overseas. Facing the full weight of the federal government, Zimmermann and his allies found an ingenious loophole. While software code was restricted like a weapon, the printed word, books, were protected by the First Amendment's guarantee of free speech. So, they did something brilliant. They printed the entire source code for Pretty Good Privacy in a hardcover book. Someone bought the book, scanned every page with a scanner, converted it back into digital text files, and uploaded it to the internet for the whole world to access. He turned his illegal munition into a legal book. The government's case crumbled, and they eventually dropped the investigation. PGP was free, and today, its principles and direct descendants are used to secure everything from your emails to iMessages, all because it was too effective for the government to leave alone. That's all for today. I'll be making similar videos in the future. Subscribe to see them.